Thank you, Beth. My day started, I think, 8 hours earlier than your day in Munich. And the whole trip, I was wondering if the cinema would be full. It was a long trip, so thank you so much for making it full. 5 years ago, my wife, who wrote the script of the story you're going to see, came to me and said, so I have a good news and I have bad news. The good news is I have a great idea for a story. The bad news is it's kind of an American indie, and we're Germans, and we're supposed to make like heavy, not funny, self-pitying, self-painting movies, so we can't do the film. So she pitched me sort of the beginning of the story, and I loved it. But I thought, yeah, we're Germans, we can't do an American movie. So we thought about other ideas. All the other ideas sucked. They were really bad. And we said, okay, the only good idea we have is Coconut Hero. So why don't we go to Canada? It's not US, it's Canada. It's a bit closer. We went way up North Canada. We found a small, tiny town that looked exactly how the place the story takes place, and we did a Canadian-American indie made by Germans. So, enjoy.
We say goodbye to our son and classmate. A flower that should have never been planted is now taken back by the earth. Rest in peace. Statistically, 99 of every 100 people that shoot themselves in the head with a rifle manage to die. One doesn't. That's me.
Do the operation. You can jump out the window afterwards.
So where are we headed?
Away. Suppose someone really believes in something, and then they start to have doubts. What should they do?
Keep faith in your own path. It's the right one.
What would you think if I died?
I like you, Mike Tyson, but you gotta screw loose. You know that, right?
Sure.
Enjoying nature?
No.
First, I want to ask you about your actors, because you can't make an American indie without having just luminous actors and chemistry. How did you find Alex and Bea?
So we knew that the whole film would be on the shoulders of this 16 or 17-year-old boy, so we started 2 years before the shooting to cast, and I had the whole story prepared that I would tell today. We went to 3,000 schools, and we went to Vancouver and Montreal, and on the second afternoon, it was the boy number 14. Alex Ozerov appeared at the casting place and was very good, and that's where the casting ended. So a year and a half ahead, we had him already, and we were just hoping that he would not become too old within the year and a half.
It is hard to cast a 25-year-old to play the sensitive 17-year-old. Not impossible, but more difficult. And then some inspired casting with Sebastian Schipper and Udo Kier, playing a little bit of against role, a little bit.
Yeah, how did that happen? Sebastian Schipper, I don't know if everybody knows, but he's an actor, but also a director. He did, last or 2 years ago, he did a movie called Victoria that was a pretty big thing in Germany, at least. He's a bit complicated. He doesn't have an agent, and the casting director was like, well, you can't really reach him, and he has no agent, and so at some point, and he only works with, I don't know, the directors he knows or something. So at some point, I did get his private email and wrote him an email, and after a month of trying to reach him through other channels, which did not work, and within 30 minutes I had an answer, and I had pitched him sort of the idea, and he made a picture of him, and he had like no shoes, just these white tennis socks, and he put them on his table sitting like this, and had like an electric guitar just very casually in the background, leaning and it was Frank sitting there, with that picture. We had a meeting. We met, and it I don't know. I think it clicked.
Yeah, it totally did. So you brought the entire, did you bring the entire crew over? Or
No.
did you use a lot of Canadian?
A lot of Canadians.
A lot of
Basically,
Canadians.
everybody, the director of photography, Brendan Stacy, the whole team are Canadians. And the only Germans were basically my wife, scriptwriter, the two producers, and the editor, who came with us to start editing in Canada. And the post-production was done in Germany then. But the whole team are Canadians.
And who wrote the songs?
My wife wrote the writing, and two friends of us who are amateur geniuses on the ukulele. They did sort of the musical part.
Yeah, it's really an extraordinary coming of age. It has, you know, a little bit of Harold and Maude, and a little bit of Juno, and a little bit of Submarine, and you know, that sort of genre. But it transcends it. It's light with also very heavy, and of course the very heavy scene. Could you have done it without? I know that's an awful question to ask. Could you have changed your film entirely and done it without? And did you ever consider not having that pivotal of a scene?
No.
Gotcha. Okay, you guys ask questions now. Apparently, I've gone off the rails. Yeah.
So I'm just gonna bite the bullet on this one. Why Coconut Hero?
Why Coconut Hero?
I don't know. There's something in the title that how to say. I find there's tone of humor in the title. There's something that sort of fits and does not fit quite, which I like personally, and which I don't know, kind of makes me, I don't know, I like a pair of shoes that is too big, but you do wear them because you want to wear them. I don't know if that is a good answer, but it's honest.
It's actually a very good answer. Yeah.
From the beginning, did you always anticipate it being in English, or was your heart set on German?
Did you always know it was going to be in English, or was your heart set on German?
So that's interesting because the first story was just in the first idea was set in a small town in the middle of nowhere, but the characters had these English sounding names, and at some point we realized this is not Germany. Like just a town where in all directions you don't stumble over another town or a railway or one of the 85 million in that small country, just not happen. So we sort of started thinking, where would this be and how would it look like? And it was clear it could be like Finland or Russia or Northern America. And we don't speak Finnish and we don't speak Russian. So, and then we realized that maybe I think the English language actually fits very well this sort of laconic tone. The German language does not fit that well, and that's when pretty early we said, let's try to do it in English, and there was a co-author, a Canadian, who joined the team, because sometimes the translation of humor is not one-to-one the same, which was very interesting because for German theatrical release, it was synchronized in German. So we had to rewrite the script in German, but it sort of went through English to German. And suddenly, because the first versions were German of the script, 1, 2, 3 were German, then we switched to English, and at the very end, it really became German, retranslated, and suddenly the German was way shorter and better, and sort of more accurate and kind of weirdly funny. So that was kind of interesting.
Did the humor fall in different places when you retranslated it back into German?
Slightly, yes. Not math, but again, today the loudest laughs were different than in Europe.
Interesting. That's fascinating. Yes, right here.
So how was it received by German audiences?
How was it
Because you
received by
said
German?
You don't make this kind of film in Germany.
How was it received in Germany?
We premiered at the Munich Festival, where it was pretty amazing. It was beautiful because from audience, from the press, we even had the Hollywood Reporter also loved it. The Germans, Variety said kind of like, They're like, oh yeah, right. Then in this kind of movie, there has to be a ukulele. Actually, the song's pretty good, but why is there a ukulele? So they were like, Hollywood Reporter liked it, German press liked it, festival great, box office. That happens actually, and I'm not sure how it is here, but in Germany with small movies, this is a small, like there's no, in Germany nobody knows these actors, the Canadian actors, and the German actors are not crowd reaching actors. So, but.
But it was released in Canada as well.
Yes, it was, but very small. The distribution situation in Canada is even worse than Germany, I would say.
It's a challenge. All the way in the back.
What was the most difficult part of making the film?
What was the most difficult part of making the film?
I think the most difficult part was we were supposed to shoot in summer 2013. There's two things. In summer 2013, we're supposed to shoot. We were 2 weeks before shooting day number 1. We had all cast, almost all locations. And for some banking issues, the financing broke. And the film was dead. And that was very hard, very tough. Especially when, as my wife and I were both on this project, and suddenly you have nothing in your hands. And this type of project, as a director, you're paid after shooting day number 1. So before shooting day number 1, also financially, it was kind of difficult. The good thing is 1 year later, the financing was back standing and even higher than the year before, and we could keep the cast and everything great, and we shot. And at the very beginning, the decision was we shot almost all of it in a town called Sault Ste. Marie, kind of 8 hours north of Toronto. But all the exterior shots, we shot in a tiny town that we discovered 3 years ago, driving a lot with a car on the northern border of Ontario called Geraldton, which is 18 hours north of Toronto, which for production issues is kind of difficult to shoot there. That's why we were limited only to do the exterior shots there. So the big question was, do we do that at the beginning of August, or do it at the end, 12th of September? Everybody on the German team voted for budget reasons, let's do it at the end. The Canadian DP said, no, on the 12th of September, there's a chance of 14% that there might be snow. We said, yeah, right. We arrived the 12th of September, wanting to shoot the 13th, and in the night of the 12th on the 13th, it snowed 15 centimeters. That was where we were shooting the parade of the bicycles. So there we had a slightly small problem, but the whole town helped, and the fireman had this technique of, which I didn't know, that you can kind of blow the snow away with the water. So until 12 o'clock, we sort of could manage to get all the snow out of a wide frame. On the side, you would see that there's snow piles, and we could do the whole, and it worked out. So, yeah, I think that might have been, for one half of a day, the toughest thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Would you say that the theme you're trying to convey is that simply life really is beautiful, or contrastly life isn't beautiful, but that's okay?
Sorry,
So
I didn't get that.
the theme you're trying to convey, is it simply that life is beautiful, or life isn't beautiful, and that's okay?
What do you think?
I personally thought more of the latter, but
Do we need to do an audience vote? Former, first part, latter part, second part? Yep. Okay. There you go. There's your answer. Yeah, right here.
Where was he taking?
Where was he taken?
Where was he taking her?
Oh, where was he taking her?
Where was he taking?
Because they just got in the car and drove. Where was he taking her? And he stood up and.
no. When she got hit by the car, where he said he was taking her somewhere,
Yeah.
where were they going?
Again, what do you think?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is a little obscure. I love the cinematography at the very end where he's lying on his back and he has the red ukulele. And I just happen to think that the red shirt was perfect. And I'm just curious, was there a debate about what color shirt he should wear?
Was there a debate about what color shirt he was wearing when he was on the ukulele at the end?
I believe on every single thing in this film there was a debate. Nothing is coincidence, but the debate on the red shirt was very short. Very quickly, we felt that could be good.
And then there's one over way back in the back. You get to be the last one.
I just want to say I love the detail of the dead fly art. And it seems like that a kid with that sort of personality going through that sort of thing, it was just so believable, and I liked it. Did he actually come up with those drawings on his own, or was
Did he come up with those drawings, or was that all scripted
or was
in?
that scripted?
That was scripted, and that is inspired. There's a Swedish artist that I don't recall his name, who does similar art, who does sort of funny paintings where he draws things around dead flies. So that was actually it started. There was a character in this film in the early script, which was an uncle. Where when he's kicked out of school and his mother doesn't know what to do with him, he brings him to the uncle who has the only bar in town, who hates kids, and they have no relation, and he has to stay there. So the uncle puts him in one corner of the bar and says, "Don't move and stay here," and he has nothing to do, so he collects all the dead flies in the bar and starts the painting. That character was killed, so the flies stayed, the uncle died.
So Coconut Hero is playing twice more as part of the festival. So encourage your friends to come see it. Florian, thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.